Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me? Ben, can you hear me? Yes, good. Okay, we're sorry about the delay. It's to do with Minach and Marif. I am wondering if anybody can hear me. It does seem to make sense a bit to have Shiur just to move into Beis Yisrael and to do it on Zoom in Beis Yisrael. So that way, those who want to do it on Zoom can do it on Zoom. I don't know. I could discuss it later, but this we could do. I don't know. Like we're gaining much by this. It's a bit of a thing. Tzvi, it's really melech. You have your thumb up. Is that because you agree or disagree? Or is that just a symbol? I don't know. Okay, I don't know. I can't tell if everybody is agreeing with me, disagreeing with me. What do you say, Javi? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I didn't hear what you were saying before. I must have joined late. What were you saying?
No, I'm wondering if we do Zoom in Beis Yisrael, then do Mincha before and Ma'av after, I think, generally speaking, that would help. Do it on Zoom, so for those who don't want to come to this shit thing. Like this every day, depending on what the weather forecast is, but we might have small rainy days next week, then we could end up having one day here, one day there. It's not as good. Okay, I don't know. I'm suggesting. Okay. Because today, different people had to find Mincha and Ma'av in different places. Was there minion place garden? Was minion there? Okay. We're up to Daf Kuvav Amud Beis. We're actually in the middle of a sugya. Okay. Very briefly speaking, hunting is forbidden on Shabbos. Seder is forbidden on Shabbos. And it's forbidden on Yom Tov. Why is it forbidden on Yom Tov? We said already. Because you can do it before Yom Tov. If something is already hunted, then it is permitted on Yom Tov to fetch it from the hunted place and then to do it. So here, for example, sweet pictures. I like his style of drawing. So you've got like a nice big field and a tiny little enclosure. So there, that's already called hunted. That's not called hunted. So to put it in there on Shabbos would be mutter because you've not done anything. Here would be awesome. But once it's already there and you want to take it out, it is mutter. We have more and more.
And you say yes, there's any tzortzes or something where if you're not allowed to like trap it more once if it's all left it more trapped, if it's trapped for certain reasons, like it produces eggs, let's say for chickens.
Yeah.
Is there yesh b'monet tzortzes or something? What's it?
Yesh b'monet. Yes, yeah. That's a big shayla. What's called yesh b'monet? The more is going to watch mamish 1 minute. But yesh b'monet means something which is normally hunted. So you have to examine what's normally hunted. So the Gemara asked the Stira. Right. Okay, we're saying the Gemara asked the Stira. We had one brayso that says you're not allowed to hunt animals and birds. One brayso says, and one Mishnah says you are allowed to. By the Stira in Beitza. And the Gemara over here now answers them. So the Gemara, we're up to Daf Kuvav Amud Beis, 10 lines from the top, and we say like this. Kasha chaya chaya kasha efes efes. Bishleima, no, it says Bishleima chaya chaya kasha. Horav Yehuda Rabbanon. In our Mishnah already, there's a machlokes of Yehuda and Chachomim whether hunting something into a house is considered hunted. Is according to Yehuda only in a house, but in a field it's not considered hunted. And the Chachomim say yes, it is. So therefore, the Shaila whether you're allowed to take it from a field would be a Shaila of Yehuda and Chachomim. According to Yehuda, that being in a field is not hunted, so you're not allowed to take it from the field in Yom Tov either. According to the Chachomim, that once it's already in a field in an enclosure, it's considered hunted. You're allowed to take it from there. And that if it's an enclosure with a roof on top, so therefore it's already considered trapped. Since it's already considered trapped, you're allowed to take it on Yom Tov. If it's got no roof, and being a bird, it can fly away, so therefore it's not trapped, therefore you're not allowed to take it on Yom Tov. Well, by the Mekura, a house always has a roof. Both Abiuda and the Chachamim in our Mishnah say, they're only forbidden to trap a bird into a cupboard, into a closet, but not into a house. Because everybody agrees a house for a bird is not trapped. Because if you get a bird in your house, it can go from one corner to the other corner. That's not considered trapped. There are different kinds of birds. There are some birds which are like rebellious birds, and some birds which are not. When our Mishnah says that putting a bird inside a home is not trapped, it's still about a free bird. a free loving bird where it chooses to go wherever it wants to. Therefore, it's not trapped. But other birds which listen to the owners, and once you get them into an enclosure, they'll stay there. That is trapped. The Tana de Be'av Yisrael lo monikol shmutz. It goes wherever it wants. In a house, it's as free as in a field, because it doesn't get controlled easily. So it'd be like a parrot, Lamashur. That's not a tzipor dvur, as far as I understand. Once you've got it in a house, it will come easily. You can trap it easily. If you've got, let's say, a pigeon, which does what it wants, then it's considered not trapped. It says, there's no stira. That means it's the same nakuda. A big enclosure is considered not trapped, and therefore in Yom Tov you're not allowed to take it from there. And a small enclosure, it is considered trapped, and you are allowed to take it. What's a big enclosure? What's a small enclosure? So the Gemara now gives 3 answers, which actually all boil down in the Shulchan Aruch. What are the 3 answers? The difference between a big enclosure and a small enclosure. The Gemara says like this. If with one lunge, with one grasp, you can catch it, that's a small enclosure. But if after one grasp it can slip away and you have to run after it twice, that's a big enclosure. So that gives us some sort of an idea. We talk about trapping a wasp or bird or chicken in a field. So you have to examine, is it something that once it's in the field, you can get it with just one lunge? Or is it something that requires more effort than that? Then that's a big enclosure, it's not trapped. In Midmos is a second explanation. If the shadows of the 2 walls opposite each other from the 2 sides of the enclosure overlap, that's a small one. But if they don't overlap, then it's a big one. Matthias already points out that it's very strange, because then it's to do a lot with the height of the walls, not just the size of the enclosure. And Teresa says they used to have a specific height which they used to use for building their fences. So that height, if the shadows overlap, if it doesn't have nooks and crannies, sometimes you can have a small field, but it's got a lot of nooks and crannies, and therefore what happens is to catch an animal there is very, very difficult. So that's called a big enclosure. But if it is an area which is very, very open and clear, so then it's easily caught, and therefore it's considered a small enclosure. So therefore, regarding catching an animal on Shabbos, you have to examine, is it something which can be easily caught? If it's got a lot of places to escape, but lots of nooks and crannies, then it's considered biblical. Otherwise, it's biblical. Let's summarize so far like this. What a stira between 2 vices and mishnahs in Beitza regarding trapping on Yom Tov. And we said, first of all, it could be a machlikus of Yehuda and Chachamim, because in our Mishnah, we have 3 shittas, if you remember the Mishnah. Everybody agrees trapping a bird into a closet is forbidden. But regarding a deer, there was machlikus. If Yehuda says only into a house, the Chachamim say even into an enclosure is forbidden. And then we had a third opinion of Roshim Gamliel, who says that it depends how big the enclosure is, big or small. If it's big, it's permitted, small, it's forbidden. So now, regarding the stira in the Gemara and Beitza, so we've got 2 answers. Either it's a Yehuda and Chachamim, or we're talking about a big enclosure, small enclosure. It says it like this. The halacha is like Roshim Gamliel, that it depends how big the enclosure is. Halacha sounds like there was an argument, and we passed like this man Doma. But who says it's an argument? Perhaps Roshim Gamliel is just explaining the opinion of the Tanna Kama. It means the Chachamim said that a big enclosure is that you're not allowed to trap a deer into an enclosure. Comes the Roshim Gamliel and he says it depends what size enclosure it is. So Roshim Gamliel is not arguing; he's just explaining. So he said, what difference does it make to you? Meaning, whether Roshim Gamliel is explaining, whether he's arguing, it makes no difference. Why? Since we passed like Roshim Gamliel, so therefore it makes no difference whether he's explaining or arguing. If he's arguing, we passed like him. If he's explaining, then he's not arguing, and of course we passed like him because he's just explaining the Chachamim. So either way, the halacha will be, depends whether it's a big enclosure or a small one. So therefore, it's Abai. So Beis said to Abai, what difference does it make? Do either pass the Shulchan Aruch that makes difference big enclosure, small enclosure, or if we don't pass like him, so if we're always explaining, and then obviously we pass like him because it's just explaining to the camera. Amalei Gemara is Musa to hey, learning Gemara is a song. When you learn a song, you don't really care about the different words. But when you learn something, you want to know nafkamina. Somebody's got his thing not muted. Oh, so what happens is when so Abai said to Abis, of course I need to know whether Shulchan Aruch is arguing. You're right. The halacha and the ma'aseh will make no difference whatsoever, but it does make a difference regarding the emes. Is the Shulchan Aruch explaining the chamim or is he arguing with the chamim? And now going back to our mission, Shulchan Aruch says it depends if it requires tzeidah or not. So that's what the Shulchan Aruch brings, like if Shulchan Aruch passed Naikim. And then it says, and what's mechusa tzeidah? There's 3 different answers we had before. Says the Gemara, Tonu Rabbanan, Hatzad tzvi suma, a blind deer, v'yoshin, a sleeping one, chayiv. Right? You see a blind deer or deer sleeping, you catch it, chayiv. Chige if it's lame, v'zokin if it's old, v'choyle if it's not well potted. What's the difference? So he said, some of them escape and some don't. Meaning, a sleeping deer, while it's sleeping, it's easy to catch it. If you don't trap it, if you don't put it now into an enclosure, the second it wakes up, it'll run away. So by moving it by putting it into an enclosure, you have gained that you have actually got now the deer trapped in your possession. But if it's, let's say, for example, very old or lame, makes no difference whether it's sleeping or awake. It anyway can't escape. Since it can't escape, there's no issa to trap it. For example, the person we talk about, is there issa to trap a tortoise on Shabbos? What would you say? The answer is no. Why not? Because since it's such a slow walking animal, it is always trapped. Because since it moves so slowly, it's like an old deer or an ill deer that can't run away. But let's say you've got something sleeping, where once it wakes up, it can easily escape. So you've gained by trapping it, so therefore it's forbidden. So we just said that.
Depends how. Are you bringing that as a point, or are you saying in general tortoises can be trapped on Shabbos?
I think the tortoises can't be trapped. I think it's too slow to be considered trapped. The halacha it says.
And their cages have to be locked, otherwise they can escape.
Yeah, but the minute that you walk past it, it's under your domination. That means you've got it. Okay. So the word says like this. You just said that achil is potter, we said achil is chayiv. There's 2 kinds of illnesses. Illnesses of temperature, illnesses of tiredness. When it's not well because of temperature, it can run away. Since it can run away, so therefore it's forbidden to catch it. When it's not well because of fatigue, then what tiredness, then you can always, then there's no issue to catch it. Basically, it depends whether the trapping has benefited. If it's not well because of temperature, it can still escape. If it's not well because of fatigue, therefore it's anyway trapped, so therefore there's no issue to trap it. So the verse is like this. Tanu Rabbanan Hatzad, Chagovin, that is the locust, Gazin, another kind of locust, Tzon is hornets, Viatushin is mosquitoes, B'Shabbos Chai, Divra Amim, Acham Emim Kol Shmina Nitzat Chai, V'Chol Emim Nitzat, So this is an interesting thing, and this is how we pass it. It has to be B'Minoi Nitzat. It has to be something which is normally hunted. So if you catch a wasp, a spider to escape, to get rid of it, these are not B'Minoi Nitzat, and if you've not been over an Issa Deiraisa on Shabbos, because people do not trap. Even bees, which people do hunt bees, because if you want to have a beehive, you have to hunt bees. There are many poskim who hold that the way you hunt a bee is not the way we do it. Is what you do is you take a pot and you stick it over its head and take it outside. What you do is you put outside honey in a hive and it accumulates and they come to you or something like that. So therefore, it's not minoi nitzah the way we are being noted it. So therefore, even a bee will not be a deraisa. There's a shail in the poskim regarding bees, but wasps and spiders and mosquitoes, that's certainly not minoi nitzah. Tani edoch, atzot chagom mishas hatal, when there's a Jew, the locusts are blinded by the Jew in the morning. So therefore, you're potter because they can't move. The shas hashrov in the heat, even the Ritual says in the heat they are they are weak, right? First, on a hot day, you feel schwach. So the locusts can't fly as well in the heat. But since they're not completely blinded like they are in the time of the Jew, so chayav yachayav. If they're swarming, potter. Why? Because when locusts swarm at you, what happens is you don't need to trap them. They actually come under you. So the verse is like this. That means the Tanna Kama said two halachas. When they're blinded in the Jew, permitted. It is permitted. When it is in the heat of the sun, forbidden. Comes along Elazar ben Ma'avoya and says it depends if they're swarming or not. That could be a kula, it could be a chumrah. It could be saying that even in the time of the Jew where you said it's permitted, I say it's only permitted if they're swarming, or it could be or a chumrah. So that would be a chumrah, or it could be a kula. That even in the heat when you said it's forbidden, that I say once it's swarming it's permitted. So was Elazar ben Ma'avoya speak on the reisha being machmir, on the reisha being make, on sif being make. Toshma tzad chagam b'shas atal potter, b'shas ashor chayav. Elazar ben Ma'avoya afilu shas ashorov. If they're swarming at you, and therefore it's not a matter of trapping them because they're coming at you, you do nothing about it, then you're potter. So he's coming to be meikol even in the time of heat. Says the Mishnah, the bias a deer that came into a house, but no alechot befonov, and one person locked chayav. No alu shnaim, two locked it ptuin. Lo yochel echad no alu, but no alu shnaim. One person can't lock on his own because it's a very heavy door. And you need two people. Chayovit Rav Shimon Poitan. He's got very nice pictures. I like his style of pictures. Here you've got a picture of somebody locking the door. He's chayav because he's locking the door. Here you've got two people closing a door. He's potek. He's only two people to close a door. It's like shtaim shosu. Here you've got a very, very heavy door, a door that comes off its hinges. And you need to slide it in. You need to put it in. So then in this case, so you've got one case, one person does it. You are chayav. Two people do just close the front door. Your potek is just get one person to do it. Two people carrying a heavy, heavy door, putting it in its place, then you're chayav. And Rav Shimon says you're potek because Rav Shimon has a principle that what? No, because Rav Shimon holds a principle that any malacha that two people do, even if you need two people to do, you're potek. Shimon holds always two people that do, you're always potek. Says the Gemara, if you catch a lion on Shabbos, it means if you catch a lion holding it by a lead or a leash, you're potter. Why? Because even after you're holding on to it, it's still not trapped because it's strong enough to pull itself away. So just holding on to the lion doesn't make you trapped. But if you put it into its cage, and on their chain and lock where the lion can't move away, then that's considered trapped. So therefore, you're not chayav, even if you're tofso, even if you grab it, because as Rashi says, when the lion gets annoyed and irritated, it just walks away from you, and there's nothing you can do about it. So therefore, you're only chayav if you actually get it into a cage. Once you get it into a cage, then you're chayav because you've done something. A person sits by his front door, and you haven't closed the front door. Again, you've got nice pictures over here. I just showed the pictures maybe first. It's like this. Here you've got one person sitting by the front door, and the deer can still escape. Here you've got two people, and now they're blocking off the entrance. Here you've got one person blocking off the entrance by himself. Here you've got two people overlapping, and then the second person walks away. These are all the cases the Mishnah is going to talk about. It's actually quite easy to picture, but it's nice to see the pictures, the nice artistic style this Yomi is. So Yoshev Echad Pesach, a person sits by his front door, but he doesn't block it off, so the deer can still escape. Yoshev Hasheni Milu, and the second person comes and sits and blocks it off. Hasheni Chayav, the second person's Chayav. Why is the second person Chayav? Because he was the one who did the trapping. The first one didn't do any trapping. Yoshev Ishla Pesach Milu, the first person filled up the entire entrance. Is wide, or it's a narrow entrance. Ubo Hasheni Yoshev Betzidoi, and the second person came and sat next to him, meaning he's not really done anything. Even if the first person now gets up and walks away, interesting halacha. So let's say Reuven comes, blocks up the front door. Shimon comes and sits behind him. So Shimon's not done anything because Reuven's already blocked the front door. Now Reuven decides he wants to give himself a drink. And now Shimon is blocking. The halacha is that Shimon's done nothing, only Reuven. Here he's got the pictures. Can you see? The first person sits, blocking the whole entranceway. The second person sits behind him. And then the first person walks away. In all these cases,
Shimon blocking it.
yeah, so Shimon's blocking it. Oh,
He has to be blocking it.
Yeah.
Even though he's blocking it, Reuben's still chayav,
yeah, that's right. Even though Shimon's blocking it,
and not Reuben. Reuben's got
and
it
Reuben's gone,
because he started.
because
the
Reuben
practice.
trapped, and all Shimon did, when Shimon came, Shimon did not actually do an act of trapping
overlap.
because they were
So
overlapping.
it was never a space.
So it was never a space. So Shimon never did anything. And now Shimon is just maintaining Shmira. Maintaining, guarding is okay. Says the Mishnah. What's the similar? Here there's a big machlokes of Shimon Ramban on Mitzvah, what's going on. We're in the Halach of the Ramban, which I found easier to understand. It's like this. Imagine you've got your front door closed, and inside the house is a deer. A deer can't escape. The front door is closed. And you lock it. Have you done an issa of sod? No. Because locking something does not make it a matzav of tzeda. Before that, it was already trapped. Similarly, when Reuben was there blocking the front door, and Shimon comes and sits behind him, he's not making a matzav of trapping. All he's doing is an extra shmira to something that already existed. So therefore, that's not considered trapping. That's an unban. I'll tell you briefly the Ritva. The Ritva understands that, no, we're talking about open front door, and you close the front door, but your intention is to close it because you don't want a thief to come in to take your Shabbos candlesticks. But meanwhile, what you've done is you've trapped the deer. And that, according to the Ritva, is mutter because you're not trapping the deer. The deer is already in the house. All you're doing is closing the front door to guard the candlesticks. So the Ritva asks the kasha, who told you indeed that it is mutter? Maybe that should be awesome. And the Ritva says, and he says this in the Kultan Man's Malach, that Chazal knew it cannot be that a person is not allowed to lock his front door. It can't be that person, if he's got a deer in his house, can't lock his front door. Because that would mean that he'd have to leave his front door vulnerable to theft. And that can't be. So for Chazal understood that the fact that you're allowed to lock your front door is a raya, that if a person is sitting there and you come along and you're just the second person, then it is okay. Says the Gemara, top of top of the page. If a bird comes underneath your cloak, you've got a big cloak, and a bird flies into your cloak. You have to wait and keep it there till darkness. Meaning, let's say it comes underneath your jacket. You don't have to open your jacket to help the bird escape. Since you never did the act of trapping, the bird did the act of trapping, you don't have to release it. That means that's what he learns from our Mishnah, that you don't have to release a bird. I'll just say very, very briefly. There's a sefer called Yerushalayim Shalmal, and it brings there stories of different leaders that lived in Yerushalayim. And it says a very interesting story, a true story, that during the time of the First World War, the hunger was terrible, terrible in Yerushalayim. You can't imagine the hunger. Rabbi Levine, lost children who were nifta, just literally died from starvation. If you ever read the stories about Levine's children. Anyway, what happened was a Yiddish child who was walking on Shabbos afternoon, and what happened was he sees a coin on the floor. Well, you can't imagine. Shabbos, what can he do? He doesn't know what to do. So he decides that he'll put his foot on top of it and stand there all the way till Nacht, and that way he'll be able to take the money home, the coin home, and give back, let his father buy some bread, etc. What happened was he stood there, and it was worth it for him to stand for 6 hours or 10 hours, how long it would be, daydreaming. An hour kid walked past and worked out what's going on, that somebody's got something precious under their feet, pushed him and shoved him, eventually got the coin, because he couldn't pick up the coin himself, because it's muktzah. That Havdalah, when the father made Havdalah, he was very, very low, very dispirited. His father said to him, what's wrong? So he told him. So his father said to him, okay, let me buy off you the mitzvah of the coin. How much was the coin worth? I'll give you that coin, and you give me the mitzvah that you didn't pick up muktzah on Shabbos. They made a very, very big impression on him. Okay, but so the halacha is that if you would want to, if a bird would fly into your pocket on Shabbos, or an ant, or a spider, you don't have to open up your pocket and let it go. You can let your pocket stay closed and keep it for Motzei Shabbos, and then that way, Motzei Shabbos, you can keep the spider or the bird and play with it. So, says the Gemara, Motzei Nachman by Yitzchak. Yoshev Arishon ala Pesach, person sits by the gate to Molu, and he blocks it to Bo Hashini, Yoshev Tzid, Yafi, Shavod Rishon, Molech, Rishon, Chav, Hashini, Potter. Our Mishnah says that one person was blocking the entranceway. A second person came. So the second person, when the first person went away, what was he doing? Maintaining tzod. That means he wasn't creating a hunting, but rather he was keeping it trapped. Now, we have a principle, we said right at the beginning, we started the Gemara Shabbos long before the lockdown, or maybe it was right before the lockdown even began, that whenever we say potter, what?
It's potter and mutter, this case.
Oh, but generally, what does the word potter mean? Potter always means that it's forbidden. Because if it would be mutter, it usually says mutter. Potter means you're potter, you're free, you don't get a punishment of chatos or misa, whatever it is. The fact that the Mishnah says that the first one is chayab and the second one is potter is mashma that the second one is done in issa d'rabbanan of maintaining the trapping. Naila potter avalosa. So lo potter or mutter. It's mistabel like that. Bidikton is safe from Mazda Demon and Elis Base of the Shoymo. The fact that Mishnah brings an example and compares the two and says that just like a person is allowed to lock his front door, even if there's a deer inside his house, so too is a person allowed to sit across the front doorway if there's somebody else already there. If the case would be forbidden, so why are you comparing it to an example which you're saying that people do all the time, that people come all the time and they lock the front door to stop theft when there's a deer inside the house and the deer is already trapped? The fact that the Mishnah is saying that since we see that in another case people do it all the time, that's the case that people do it. So therefore, obviously, this is a case which is mutter, because if this case would be also, you can't say, and this is comparable to other people doing that, because other people should not be doing that. The fact that Mishnah says that it's comparable to other people doing it is why that means mutter. We've got another version of this previous Gemara, which is exactly the same in Maskana, but it's slightly different in the order of the things. We've also learned in our Mishnah that you're allowed to keep a bird which is trapped in your cloak. You're allowed to keep it. Because the Mishnah says, he isn't pshat in the Mishnah that it's mutter. It says, well, no, potter avalos. The Gemara says, no. Our Mishnah says potter means potter, but forbidden. This is comparable to a person locks his front door and the deer is automatically trapped inside it. That means it's just a change of one more foot to the habit. One pshat is in the habit that the Gemara understood that it is asa, and we bring a right from a Mishnah that it is mutter. The other man I said originally, no, it's mutter. And then the Gemara says, no, maybe it's us. And more brings back about that it is mutter. But both in Megdil and Maskana, that if a person has, that means you're not allowed to trap on Shabbos. You're allowed to maintain trapping. Once mentioned, I don't want to go into it now, but there's a Taz which talks about putting a lid back on your bin, which the Taz is in the Supik where it's permitted. The olden days, people had a lot of flies in their bins. So what would happen is, if you put a lid on your bin, you would be doing trapping. The Taz Lemaisa wants to forbid it if you know that there are flies in the bin. So you can't close your lid bin. But there, it's not the same as over here. Because when the lid comes off, then it is completely free. Because it's not like a deer where it's easy to trap it. A fly is very hard to get hold of it. By putting the lid on the bin, you're actually trapping then. So that's why it's forbidden. The reason why that Taz is very famous is because the Taz says that if you don't know if there are flies there, then it is mutter. And they all ask, why is it mutter, why is it not a suffix? And they say, because since you're not intending it, it's not a situation. It's interesting as well. Okay. Omar Shmuel, Shabbos potter avalosa. Everything on Shabbos is potter avalosa. The bar manit lasts except for 3, and we had this actually previously on Daf Gimel. The potter or mutter. Choda ha. First one is our Mishnah. We made the potter or mutter. How do we know it's mutter? The fact the Mishnah compares it to a person knocking his front door, and the Mishnah understands that that obviously must be mutter, like we just said. Another case. A mephis mulsa b'Shabbos, a person who's got a very big spot, so you've got pus inside it. So what you do is you take a needle or something and you pop it, and out comes the pus. Now when you what's the word for it? When you make the hole, when you pierce it, so the halacha is that you're doing an issa or makava patish. You're creating a hole, which is forbidden. But if it's painful and your intention is in order just to escape that the pus should come out, it is mutter. So it's like this. If you want to keep the opening open, that means a person expects to have more pus coming. And he wants the entrance way to be open forever. Chayav. He's chayav chatos because he did this to the Raisa. And Shmuel comes along and says, not only are you potter, which meaning that it's asur d'rabbanan, but actually mutter. You're allowed to do it. It says, well, potter or mutter. How do you know that you're actually allowed to do it? What's the right? Does anybody know offhand what the right would be? Because as it's now, we had a Mishnah, Machat Sheliad, the previous Mishnah, actually not a bit later Mishnah, we did discuss something similar. If to take a needle, little boy sakutz, how big is this pain? How long does a needle? How big does a needle need to be chai for kain on Shabbos in order to pull out a splinter? Now let's work it out. You're allowed to take a needle to pull out a splinter or to pop a blister. Now, if it would be forbidden to do it on Shabbos, you would not be allowed to carry a needle to do it, because a needle is a muktzah for kiddush v'lachta le'isa, and you're taking it for something which is permitted. But if you're not allowed to create a hole in a blister, or you're not allowed to create a hole to pull out a splinter, then you won't be allowed to take the needle. So therefore, the fact that the Mishnah says that you're allowed to carry a needle in order to create a hole in a blister is a raya that you're allowed to do it on Shabbos. The third and last case, that's not nochash with Shabbos. If you hunt a snake on Shabbos, if the reason is that the snake shouldn't bite you, it's potter. And therefore, if you're hunting the snake to get the venom, and that's a healing, then it's chai.
If it's a venomous snake, then isn't it obvious that it's potter? Because it's succumbus and cautious.
Mishmor says that a snake doesn't kill; it just causes pain. Mishmor asks you, Kasha, that it's
a venomous snake.
What?
A venomous snake.
What we're saying is obviously we're talking about not the venom which kills, but the one which just causes a bad reaction. But Mishmor asks you, Kasha, that what's the chiddush you're allowed to do it? Oh, it is the things. Mishmor says that we talk about the kind of snake that doesn't kill. And how do you know you're allowed to? Maybe it's potter if you trap a snake. It's only it's not you're allowed to put a bowl over a candle. They shouldn't light your beams. You shouldn't fire shouldn't catch on the house. But you're allowed to take a bowl and cover dirt on the floor in order that people shouldn't get dirty from it. And the scorpion that it shouldn't bite. And why are you allowed to do it? Is a raya, you're not allowed to carry a bowl for something which is forbidden. The fact that you're allowed to do it is a raya that you're allowed to trap. And again, it is interesting over here that once discussed trapping a bee on Shabbos for the sake of not stinging other family members who are very scared of these things. Here it says clearly, a scorpion you're allowed to. Now the Mishnah himself says, as Shai points out, Mishnah says about this clearly, that we're not talking about a scorpion that can cause anything which was dangerous, because if it would cause anything dangerous, then we won't need a Mishnah to tell us such a thing. Obviously, we're talking about a scorpion that just creates a lot of pain. So this is the question. Can you say that a bee sting is something which creates a lot of pain? If you remind me later, maybe I should read out to you the words which, well, this is what I want to discuss with Fag, is that you see clearly that you're allowed to cover a scorpion. And that we're not talking about a scorpion that Chas v'Shalom can kill, because then we won't need anything to tell us. We're talking about something which just creates pain. After the beginning, the Mishnah says, the Gemara says, yeah, it's mutter. So that's a chiddush that you're mutter. This are three cases that it is mutter. To be the second person to trap a deer, to create a hole to release past some Shabbos, or to trap a snake or a scorpion that it shouldn't bite. Mazel tov, we should be zeicher to learn it again in this world and in the Shemayim. Should we stop now? Let me stop quickly. Has everybody got a lechaim? We'll stop very quickly for lechaim. I want to start. No, that one's fine. Oh, you're allowed to make a lechaim on water. What's psak halach? Oh, why do you all having a lechaim? Things like a side that. Oh. Much too much, yes, I'm sorry. Hey, pour it to Moshe. Moshe could do the. Where is it? Yeah. What do you say that?
Easter, yeah, it depends how people react to it,
Oh. Mishtabur is in Shinter Zayin Sivkot Mechav Zayin. Hein. Here. Yes, Mishtabur Chav says you're allowed to trap a snake or a scorpion that it shouldn't bite you. Says Mishnah Bor. Obviously, we talk about she'ein megilin nechashim lamis, that the snakes don't kill, because if they were to be killing, then it says v'shad tzedila v'ochi lo yesiva b'Yehuda that it's asa, and obviously we're talking about to be mutter. Okay, so he says that time. Why are you allowed to? Why are you allowed to trap a snake? If it's not killing you, so why are you allowed to trap it? He says the answer is it's melacha she'tzich legufa. Why? That's obvious. Why it's melacha she'tzich legufa? Because in the Bishkan, why do they trap animals? To keep them. Why are you trapping the snake or the bee or the scorpion? To get rid of it. So therefore, you don't want it. It's melacha she'tzich legufa. So that is only drabonon. So it's only drabonon. And over here, since it's painful, if it bites you, it's painful. So Chazal will matter issa drabonon for pain. Right? That's what Mishnah Bor says. So Mishnah says for something which causes pain. What?
Then, as you said, the bee should be the same because some people get very scared of
that's
them.
what I was thinking. So Fag said to me, how can you compare the pain of a scorpion to the pain of a bee sting? That's the question. But you must remember, you've got always, that's besides, you've got a few other hetim. One het, you've got L'chaim, everybody. L'chaim, you have simchas. Mr. Hashem, looking forward to have many more simchas. Okay. What are we talking about? No, so you see, you can't really compare the pain of a snake to the pain of a bee sting. We must have got other hetemis. A snake is mininitzad, and okay. I want to start with the next parak, Mr. Hashem. Next parak is a lot to do with refuah, healing. And unfortunately, the medicine of today and medicine in the olden days has changed very dramatically, not always so easy. Mishnah starts off like this. Let's read the first Mishnah. Shmona shrotzim amon b'Torah. Hatzadan, if you hunt them. B'achovel ben, if you beat them. Chayiv, you're chayiv. So he brings you pictures. I saw some people working very hard to try and establish what are the Shmona shrotzim. The fact is, nobody can be 100% certain what they are, because the Torah tells us the names. And we can only guess. So you've got here, Chaylet, Achbar, if you can see, some of them are here and some of them are there. The different words, lizards, mice, some say rats, some say a mole, some say frogs. There's 8 shrotzim. And here it shows you tzod, somebody trapping on the Shemona shrotzim, and here it's showing you beating them. And we have to explain a bit of background to explain this Mishnah. Could I get a background clear? First of all, like this. If a person sees a dead cow or dead sheep, he touches it, he becomes tummy. All nevelas of all animals, dead lion, touch a dead lion, become tummy. But when it comes to very small creatures, right, let's say snakes and things like that, then what happens is the Torah does not make tumah. A dead snake, a dead cockroach does not create tumah. Right? If you touch a dead cockroach, you're not tummy. But the Torah says that of all the small, tiny animals, we'll call them shrotzim. We'll call them shrotzim. Shrotzim is a word to use these cockroaches, snakes, lizards, whatever you want to call them. All of them, if you touch them when they're dead, they're not tummy. So if you walk outside and you see a dead cockroach, you pick it up, you're not tummy. If you pick up a dead sheep, you become tummy. Now, these Shmona shrotzim, of all the different shrotzim, of all these different lizard, snake family, there are 8, which we don't know necessarily exactly what they are, which if you touch them, one becomes tummy. One becomes tummy. Can you imagine? These are the 8 which become tummy. In fact, in Yerushalayim, they would sweep the streets every day because people were scared that there would be these dead Shmona shrotzim in the street, and people might not notice because they're very small. A dead sheep, it's easy to avoid. A dead lion, it's easy to avoid. But a dead mouse, not so easy to avoid. You never know, you might be picking one up without realizing. So they used to sweep the streets of Yerushalayim, these Shmona shrotzim should make a person tummy. Besides for the fact that they are tummy, there's another difference that these Shmona shrotzim have regarding all the others. They have what's called skin, or hide in English. A thick skin, not leather, a thick skin. Now, what difference does it make that it has a thick skin? There are few nafkeminas halacha lemaisa these shrotzim have. Let's assume that a mice is one of the Shmona shrotzim, and we'll assume that a snake isn't. There's a difference between their skins. One of them has a thick skin and one does not. Therefore, like this. If a person hits a Shmona shrotzim, which has a thick skin, then what happens is the blood is killed. When you hit very hard, the blood is dead. breaking, destroying blood is a form of murder. You're killing an animal on Shabbos. So you're chayav because of netilas neshama. Oh, none of the blood came out. Doesn't mean anything. The skin kept it in. But other shvatzim, which don't have that thick skin, when you hit it, what happens is the blood, because it's got nowhere to get trapped, because it doesn't have a thick skin, so it doesn't die. All that happens is it just moves from one place to the next. That means because of the physical attributes the Shvuna Shvatzim have, therefore, since they have skin, the blood comes out of the blood system and gets trapped between the blood system and the hide. That's what a bruise actually is. And therefore, what happens is you've actually done a form of netilas neshama. That's Rashi's malach. And if you look at Tesis, look at the top Tesis, the second Tesis, it's the first one. Rashi also says there's another difference. That when an animal has skin and you beat it, what happens is it changes the color of the skin. So you're chayav because of tziveh. When it's got no skin, you're not chayav because of tziveh. So let's read the Mishnah again. Shvuna Shvatzim more better. These specific Shvuna Shvatzim, they have skin. So therefore, at Sodom, another thing is that these, because they have skins, people would often hunt them. So therefore, it's as chayav. Ben, if you beat them, chayav. The shash let's say you kick a cockroach. When potter, you're potter because they have no skin, and therefore you're not doing the tilas neshama. The blood doesn't come out. The proof the blood doesn't come out is because since they have no skin, the blood would spurt out. So you're not chayav. At Sodom, then let's say if it's for something that you actually need, then chayav. Shedei potter. So it seems like so this is something which is yesh forbidden nitzat. This I'll talk about only if the b'minin nitzat. So if you're trapping it for your sake, you're chayav. Shnei b'tzadon l'tzarech is potter. Chayav oiv sheb'shusay. Animals that are in your possession, meaning an animal which you own. Right, if you've got a rabbit, had sodom potter. You're potter because you're already under your rishus. Because they're already under your domination. If you beat them, you're chayav. Why? Because all animals and all birds are considered to have a hide. They're all considered to have a hide. So if you beat an animal, you're chayav. So here, Xisa is beating his dog, so he's chayav. Why? Let's explain it again. When an animal has no hide, then what happens is when you beat it, it does not create blood to be dislocated from its normal place and trapped behind its hide. And therefore, you've not done the tilas neshama. The tilas neshama is a form of killing. Sheikhet is the tilas neshama. For example, taking blood out of a person, you're chayav because of ritzicha. Why? Because by taking blood, it's a form of getting rid of that person's blood. It's a form of the tilas neshama. The person is slightly less alive. So therefore, when a person beats an animal that has a hide, we look at the blood as if it came out of its place and then it's strapped, and therefore you've actually taken blood out of the animal. When it doesn't have a hide, by beating it, you've not done the tilas neshama because there's nothing to trap the blood. The blood doesn't actually move; it just moves around. It's like stirring a pot of blood, where nothing happens. You move from one side to the other. Or if that person would get a finger into an animal and get the blood to move around, it's done nothing. So therefore, he's potter. Okay, it is. In Mitzvah Hashem tomorrow, there's only going to be a 45-minute shiur. Should we say, what time do people prefer? Anybody shout out now, what time they prefer? Okay, they all shout out. Okay, 10 o'clock. And we'll be getting to Kuf Ches Amud Aleph, 4 lines from the top. It'll be quite a short shiur. Just to Kuf Ches is a new topic then. Kuf Ches Amud Aleph, 4 lines from the top. Does anybody know what Sunday's daf is? Well, what's today's daf?
Kuf Zayin.
Sunday's daf is Kuf Zayin?
Yes.
What?
Yes, Kuf Zayin.
Oh, Sunday is Kuf Zayin. It means on Sunday, we will actually be exactly 1 daf ahead. Right. Very good. So we get in Tov Kuf Ches Amud Aleph by Sunday. Any questions? Right. I won't mind if people would get back regarding this point. I don't know if the weather forecast is fine, we'll go back to Tali Dakin's garden. If it's going to be like this, then the question is if it's worthwhile to consider setting up Zoom. Oh, I'm just being told the weather is quite good for next
On
week.
Mondays.
Oh, okay, so we'll leave it in Tolly's garden if that's what people
One more
for.
week, we'll see.
Right, okay, we'll see.
Yeah.
Right, okay, I'd still have a very, very good Shabbos, those are the thing, and look forward to those who can manage 10 o'clock tomorrow. We'll get very good. Okay, I'd still with everything. Mazel tov on finishing the perk. Going to have finish another perk next Tuesday, I think it is. Have a good Shabbos.
Ugh.
Okay,